Well, good afternoon, everyone. We know it's afternoon because the car ferry just tooted her horn. So welcome to Manitowoc for those of you who are visiting here today to the Wisconsin Maritime Museum. This is a day that a lot of us standing up here have waited for a very long time. Today we can officially declare that we have a national marine sanctuary right off the shores of Wisconsin. Let's get a round of applause for that. There have been so many people, groups, citizens who stepped up to bring us to this day. You're going to hear a lot about that from our next speakers, but I personally want to give a shout out to Governor Evers and Senator Baldwin. Senator Baldwin has been a staunch advocate for this sanctuary since day one. She was there by our side. She fought in Washington, D.C. to get us to this day. She's a staunch advocate for conservation, for education, and for the public good. So let's give Senator Tammy Baldwin big thanks and round of applause. And we've had some up and downs throughout this process, and we had a change in governor throughout this process as well. And with that, again, since day one, when Governor Tony Evers took office, we reached out to his office and his staff jointly as communities to ask him to reconsider nominating Wisconsin again for this National Marine Sanctuary. He stepped up to the opportunity immediately, didn't really even ask why, but he assumed that if the mayors and communities, it's not easy to get four communities to all agree sometimes. We're all unique and special in our own ways. But on this subject, we definitely were. So since day one of Governor Tony Evers taking office, he also has been a staunch supporter. And he is a big reason, actually he is the reason, because his signature's on it, that we are here today. Let's give Governor Tony Evers. A lot of other dignitaries are here, a lot of important people. I'm going to let them speak now. I'm going to introduce right now the director of the Wisconsin Maritime Museum here in Manitowoc, Cathy.
Well, good afternoon. I just want to welcome you all here. And what a great day, and what a great time to bring together state, federal, local partners who have been a part of this process for, well, let's call it many years. And all the folks here, the faces out here, individuals who have been a part of this process. Thank you for getting us here. We're so happy to host you. Our mission here is to connect people with Wisconsin's waterways, and we have such amazing stories to tell. Stories about history, stories about our environment, but you know, it's amazing to see all these folks get together around this idea of connection to our history and our waterways. A marine sanctuary is a great unifying thing to do that in all of our communities, not just here in Manitowoc. So we are so excited to be a part of this, and I would like to introduce the Great Lakes Regional Coordinator for the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries, Russ Green.
Woo! All right, good afternoon. I'm going to have to put this up or not. Boy, I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. My name is Russ Green. I work for the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries, and I've had the good fortune to work with the communities of Manitowoc, Two Rivers, Sheboygan, Fort Washington, and so many great people in those communities. They were the drivers to make this happen. And our state agency partners, Wisconsin Historical Society, Wisconsin DNR, Wisconsin Coastal Management Program, and there's more, Wisconsin Department of Tourism, and many others. And of course, nonprofits like the Wisconsin Maritime Museum, Port Explorian in Port Washington, Rider Street Village, which is a fishing village, Two Rivers. It's been a huge team effort. It was driven by the communities, it was driven by stakeholders, and we couldn't be more thrilled to celebrate with you here today. And I see Steve Radaman also out there, and Steve Radaman is a wreck hunter. Steve Radaman knows these waters better than anybody, and he's been behind this effort for a long time as well. So we can't wait to bring all that community of folks together to manage the sanctuary. And I want to read for you real quickly something from the nomination. Sanctuaries begin with a community-based nomination And this says it all, and this sums up the vision for the sanctuary and the one that will guide the path forward. So the nominators said, and I won't give you the year, it was a while ago, a National Marine Sanctuary would expand the legacy of Wisconsin's Maritime Archaeology program, and it's a great one, expand recreational and tourism opportunities, promote stewardship of the largest freshwater system in the world, and create the sense of place that citizens of Wisconsin value so deeply. So that's it, folks. That's what got the ball rolling, and that's what we'll continue to do as we move forward. Thank you very much, and I'm going to give it back to you.
Thank you for that segue, Russ. So, real briefly, this process started quite a few years ago as an idea, and Russ said it perfectly well in the nomination. It took a bunch of communities coming together as one to talk about how wonderful this will be for the state of Wisconsin and our communities. So I do want to point out Shipwrecked Mayor Ryan Sorensen is also here. And Two Rivers City Manager Greg Buckley. Port Washington has also been vital and critical to this nomination process. Many years ago, we sat down to start talking about what it's going to take. We looked at success stories from other marine sanctuaries. We looked at to avoid these challenges to make this a reality. We sat to make sure that they were on board and that they also understood the significance that this has. How we can have an economy on a working river in Manitowoc and also have a national park right next door. It was a wonderful process, like I said, ups and downs, but here we are today to tell the story. A couple of years ago, we had over 300 people in the Wisconsin Maritime Museum for one of the public hearings. A lot of positive energy support. All that culminated into today. I said back then that this is who we are. This is our history. The men and women who built ships in Manitowoc just a couple 100 yards away when 28 submarines came out of this port to help the World War II effort. The schooners that were built back in 1860. All of our communities have a unique story. And those shipwrecks and the men and women who unfortunately are at eternal rest out in Lake Michigan have a story. And that story is, this is what they built. Manitowoc, Shipwrecked, Port Washington, Two Rivers. That story needs to be told for generations. That story needs to be ingrained in our children and future generations, because that's who we are. We build cool things here in eastern Wisconsin. We build things that go all the way around the world. And those stories need to be preserved, protected, and told to future generations. Not only that, I'm honored that Dr. Rick Spinrad is here from Noaa, who is going to be speaking. It's more than that. To be partnering with the federal government, state government, local governments, we have a unique opportunity to preserve not just the shipwrecks, but the natural, the Great Lakes system, the clean water that we have here, which is undoubtedly one of the greatest assets in the entire world, much less in America here. We're able to protect that. We're able to talk about conservation. We're able to talk about the environment. We're able to talk about climate change because of these stories with the shipwrecks. We were just talking earlier. You know, it's cool to be able to walk on the submarine. You can't really get kids to walk into a shipwreck. Kind of dangerous, I would assume. But we can talk about the stories. Kids will get interested in that shipwreck. They'll understand then the ecosystem that we have here as they grow and learn the stories of these shipwrecks. So there's a lot of neat opportunities that we have here to have a national park right in our backyard. And it wouldn't be possible, as I said earlier, if not for the support of the state of Wisconsin. And I am honored to introduce and welcome here today a good friend and the governor of the great state of Wisconsin, Tony Evers.
We are here. This is a big day, and good afternoon. It's a pleasure today to be here, and we're celebrating a great achievement in the state of Wisconsin, the designation of the Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary. Only the second marine sanctuary of its kind in our nation. So make no mistake about it. We owe this success to the hard work, and there was plenty of it, and long, hard work, dedication, persistence of the many partners, supporters, and
and stakeholders at every level stuck by this project throughout the years. And I know I came in kind of towards the end, but I also followed it in the newspapers for years and years. And I just want to take a moment not only to congratulate everybody here, but make sure that we understand who played a huge role here. Local support of this sanctuary has been at the core of this effort. I'd like to thank our coastal communities, as mentioned before, including Manitowoc, Wisconsin Shipwreck, and Suwannee counties, and local museums, businesses, community organizations, elected leaders, residents who saw the value in making this designation a reality. And our local elected leaders, both new, some of them retired, it's been that long, for being champions for this project. And of course, our Manitowoc partners, Mayor Nichols and the Wisconsin Maritime Museum, thank you also for your leadership. So I really look forward to a positive impact this building sanctuary will have on this community and all our partner communities, but frankly, of the entire state of Wisconsin. We know that the benefits of this sanctuary will be felt statewide. So I want to thank the folks at the Department of Administration, the coastal management folks there, the Department of Natural Resources, obviously the Wisconsin Historical Society, and all the state partners who, for their work, for supporting local communities in getting this designation finalized. And of course, our federal partner, Senator Baldwin, thank you for your support in this effort at the federal level, and also for helping securing the funds to ensure that Noaa had the resources to support this. It all fits together. And finally, central to this designation effort has been Noaa. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin, we are so grateful for Noaa's commitment to seeing this project to its completion, and we look forward to our continued relationship as we support the marine sanctuary for generations. The sanctuary tells a story of Wisconsin, and it's an enduring story and reminder of the relationship between the people of Wisconsin and the Great Lakes. With this designation, we're not only preserving our state's rich maritime history, but building on that relationship as this designation brings the Great Lakes region to our next chapter. We're adding recreational and educational opportunities for residents and families to enjoy, enhancing local tourism, creating economic development opportunities, and sharing the story of our state with Wisconsinites and visitors. It's a really exciting day for me. One of the things I was very excited about when I was elected governor was to do this. And with all the people here, all the work that's been done, I thank you for the honor to do this. So with that, I'd also like to welcome and introduce Wisconsin's champion for this project out in D.C., my great Senator, Tammy Baldwin.
Well, thank you, Governor Evers, so much. I am having so many really lovely recollections about my early involvement in this project. When I first came to the United States Senate to represent Wisconsin, local leaders from the communities we just named asked me to come to this very building to meet with them to discuss their vision for this marine sanctuary. And I've been proud to work with them and advocate for both resources and the designation with our federal government to make sure that everyone understood just how remarkable this part of Lake Michigan truly is, this part of the Great Lakes. And now, I'm proud to say we've got the job done. In Wisconsin as we build on decades of our state's preservation efforts. And I also want to thank the Biden administration for being a partner that is committed to carrying on the strong Wisconsin tradition of
protecting the Great Lakes. This sanctuary will provide a national stage. A national stage to tell the story of Wisconsin's maritime history and heritage. These historical shipwrecks represent Wisconsin's legacy of industrial and manufacturing might, and it's important that we preserve this history. Lake Michigan has long been a gateway for Wisconsin to the rest of the world. Preserving these shipwrecks ensures that generations to come can not only enjoy the beauty of our fresh coast, but learn about the role our waterways played in establishing Wisconsin as a manufacturing hub in the Midwest. This designation will bring new opportunities for research, resource protection, educational programming, and community engagement. What we know from the other Great Lakes Sanctuary up in Thunder Bay is that Sanctuary provides an excellent chance to better experience our Great Lakes, and in doing so, boost the local economy as visitors come into the region. And it will bring new opportunities for research and resources for educational programming so that our kids have access to world-class, hands-on learning, and visitors from near and far can enjoy this remarkable shoreline. The Great Lakes are a great asset for our quality of life in Wisconsin and also for our long-term economic security. I am thrilled to be here today to celebrate this designation and help shine a spotlight on the history of this region. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Noaa Administrator, Dr. Ruth Spinrad, and we're so pleased that he is here to join us for this celebration.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Evers, I was thinking back to your comment about how long it took to get here. I will share with you, it's taken me personally a long time to get back to Manitowoc. The last time I was here, to give you some sense, Bart Starr was in his first year as Packers. So it's been a while. I promise I'll come back sooner. Thank you so much for that. I'm not going to.
I don't remember that.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Nichols, for hosting us today in Manitowoc, and Governor Evers, of course, in the state. Senator Baldwin, thank you so much for all of your continued support for these efforts. And all of the other state community leaders who are here, thank you for being here today. And thank you so much for all of your effort over the last several years. I know personally how hard it is and how much time and diligence it takes to get to this stage. Nearly 50 years ago, the U.S. ushered in a new era of ocean conservation by creating the National Marine Sanctuary System. Since then, the sanctuary system has grown into a network of underwater parks, like our National Park Service, encompassing more than 620,000 square miles of our ocean and Great Lakes waters. Today, I'm happy to welcome the newest addition to the National Marine Sanctuary System, our nation's 15th sanctuary, Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary. As Americans, we know that nature is essential to the health, well-being, and prosperity of every family and every community. Our lands and waters hold the inspiration, fresh air to breathe, clean water to drink, healthy and sustainable economies, and the chance to experience the wonders of the outdoors. Earlier this year, President Biden issued a call to action that we work together to conserve at least 30% of our lands and waters by 2030. To meet the moment, we at Noaa are proud to be a part of the America the Beautiful initiative, which sets a national conservation vision for the next decade to advance conservation and restoration of public, private, and tribal lands and waters. This new sanctuary embodies America the Beautiful's vision of a locally led, nationwide effort to be better stewards of the lands, waters, and wildlife upon which we all depend. That vision is built upon the simple notion
that conserving special places can form the foundation of communities and sustainable local economies by providing jobs and opportunities for people to discover, recreate, and form lifelong connections with these spectacular places. We can do conservation and economic development at the same time. At Noaa, we are committed to ensuring equitable access to these spectacular places so that all Americans can experience their wonders. Noaa relies on these sanctuary networks to inspire community-based solutions that help us understand and protect our nation's most spectacular habitats, marine life, archaeological wonders, and cultural seascapes. The designation of Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary builds on 30 years of maritime heritage preservation by the state of Wisconsin and is the culmination of a community-driven nomination that was championed by many of you gathered here today. Co-managed with the state of Wisconsin, the sanctuary will expand on the stewardship of these nationally significant historic sites, bringing new opportunities for research, resource protection, educational programs, and community engagement. In partnership with local communities and small businesses, the sanctuary also will provide a national stage for promoting heritage tourism and recreation. Noaa fully embraces its responsibility to conserve and protect natural, cultural, and historic resources in our nation's oceans and Great Lakes. Our partnership with you will ensure that the National Marine Sanctuary System and Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary remain a source of pride and enjoyment for all Americans. With that, please join me in welcoming Christian Øverland, the Director of the Wisconsin Historical Society.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Spinrad. I'm delighted to be with all of you here today to recognize the incredible work of Governor Evers and his administration, Dr. Spinrad and Noaa, local leaders, state and federal legislators, and the leadership of Senator Baldwin, all who played an amazing part in making this sanctuary a reality. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank our Wisconsin Society's Maritime Archaeology team who documented a lot of this work to make it happen. The Society's amazing archaeology team has been active for 30 years documenting our state's maritime history and hundreds of shipwrecks in our waters, all of which has helped this designation possible. As archaeologists continue to research and document in Lake Michigan, this designation will help ensure the artifacts and stories are preserved for future generations to study, explore, enjoy, tour, and recreate and have a wonderful world. This historically significant sanctuary is an important cultural resource that will bring joy and wonder to tourists, as well as educate visitors, as well as K-12 students across the nation about Wisconsin's maritime history and its impact it's had on the United States. Archaeology experiences, exhibitions will be featured in the new State History Museum in Madison that will digitally connect residents in all 72 counties to the maritime history of Lake Michigan, and including this great facility we're here today, the Wisconsin Maritime Museum. Imagine our archaeologists underwater documenting shipwrecks. Imagine that they're using live video feed cameras and broadcasting from their vessel to a new history museum in Madison and to classrooms across the state and to museums across the state. Now imagine that students get to communicate with archaeologists in real time and ask them questions about the ships they're documenting. Active learning our shared history. At the Wisconsin Historical Society, we look forward to responding to the public's strong interest in maritime history by creating compelling programming including tours, webinars, traveling exhibitions, K-12 lesson plans, and publications such as the Society's 4th grade textbook on Wisconsin history. Finally, I'd like to thank Governor Evers for your confidence in the Wisconsin Historical Society and Noaa to co-manage the Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary. We're looking forward to partnering with Noaa and working with all our state and local partners and museums to make these programs a reality for the residents of Wisconsin and our nation. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome the Director of Wisconsin Policy, Resource Policy for the Department of Administration, Director Mike Friis.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Secretary Joel Brennan, I want to say congratulations. On behalf of me, I want to say thank you to all those people that kept this exciting for me, kept us reminding us of what this really means. And for me, what it really means is the acknowledgement of this very special resource of these really unique communities. People that were really influential in maintaining that enthusiasm. I want to acknowledge people from Washington Tours and Visit Shipwrecked and the Manitowoc area of the Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast. We were really sort of the glue that kept these communities moving together. So I want to thank you. And now I'm really excited about realizing what we'll see here is a quality of life experience for people within these communities, enhanced visitors' experiences. Ideally, we'll see greater acknowledgement and stewardship ethic among those people that come here, visit here, and live here of our Great Lakes. So for me, it's an exciting day to see this all realized. And thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you again to everyone who is here. Before we take questions, well, not me, the governor and senator. Before we allow them to take questions, I do want to just say a thank you. There are a lot of partners in all this, as you could see, and there are so many people behind the scenes. I mean, Mayor Sorensen and the governor have the pretty face, but it's everyone that works for them that get the job done. I'm not the young guy anymore, so I can say that. But it's the people behind the scenes that really get the work done. And there are so many different agencies, state agencies, federal and local that help. DNR, DOA, the Historical Society, Foundation, Seed Grant. I'm missing a ton of them, but there are so many folks that made this happen throughout the years. And on the local levels, as mentioned, the tourism entities, the local chambers, the local county boards and city councils that approved resolutions over the years. I got some of my city council members back there. All along, all these communities got together with all those different individuals and folks to help get us here today. And in the governor's staff, Jamie, and in the senator's staff, Jennifer, and so many more who really helped throughout this entire process. We're all from the beginning too. It's just been exciting to see all these partners come together. I said before that for the last 6 years, we focused on the history of these shipwrecks, the history of these communities, the significance of them. As of today, we can start focusing on the future. The opportunities for this National Marine Sanctuary are endless. And it's on the communities, it's on the state, it's on Noaa to talk about what those opportunities mean. This is the fun part. This is the part where we can talk about future generations coming to our communities, to this national park outside our backyard, to hear the stories of what made each and every one of us. This is an exciting time. So thank you all for being here for this event. Thank you to Governor and Senator for being here, especially to celebrate, and Dr. Spinrad, walk over there, and Dr. Spinrad for making the trip from Washington, D.C. Let's give them all, again, one big round of applause. All right, so at this time, we will allow a few minutes for some questions for Governor Evers or Senator Baldwin about the sanctuary, about the process. So they will be more than happy to answer them, and I'll get out of their way to do so. So, any questions? Oh, you guys got off easy. All right.
Any questions? Governor and Senator, if you were explaining to a Wisconsinite that doesn't know what Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast is, doesn't know what a national marine sanctuary is, about why this is important and why they should care about it, what would you say to them?
And I'll just jump in to start out. I thought that its description from the director of the Historical Society was a good one. You think about the possibilities of researchers documenting those shipwrecks and simultaneously reaching out to all Wisconsinites, but I'll classrooms across the state while they're doing it and learning about the history not only of why they are there, what kind of cargo were they carrying. I mean, I think it's endless, to be honest with you, but I think that's a good example of what we can spend more time.
Yeah, I would just add that as so many have said, these shipwrecks tell the story. Each of them tell actually many stories of Wisconsin's work ethic, Wisconsin's identity with the water, Wisconsin's impact on the world, because these shipbuilding communities were literally the gateway to commerce and throughout the world. And there's all sorts of great ways to tell these stories, but certainly this collection of shipwrecks tells a very, very unique story about who we are as people, as Wisconsinites, and this.
Senator Baldwin, a question for you. What was the biggest challenge in bringing it here to Wisconsin, and how were you able to push through it and sort of accomplish it?
Well, I think, as was said, I want to give credit to all the great work that went on rather than focus on the biggest obstacle. But I will tell you that the local work to understand the treasure and the history they had, to get buy-in from the whole, all of the communities involved, to do their homework so that their application could be considered and considered favorably. There had been a while since Noaa had taken new applications for new sanctuaries. So, I wouldn't call it a challenge, but we worked sort of in an orderly way to make sure that they would have the budget to accommodate new parks like this. And I'm just going to say it, the biggest obstacle was when a former governor said no. We're glad this governor said yes.
Senator, I have a question. We're living in a time right now when people in this state, let alone in the country, don't understand science, how science is relevant. I think it was wonderful to hear from our colleagues at Noaa that this transcends the historical, cultural aspect. What about using the sanctuary to really get people to understand science, maybe even by interacting with researchers, considering science as a career? This is a tough time in the United States and in the world for science.
And I'm going to jump in here quickly. Yes, it is a tough time for science. Obviously, there's this whole pandemic. It's one of the major discussions has been what are the scientists telling us? What is the science around this virus and how can we combat it? And clearly, it became a political nightmare. So this is a good opportunity. And as I mentioned before, it's a small example, but having young people learn from researchers and understand the science of what's happening underneath the water is important. But it also kind of elevates science in and of itself, and I think that's a tragedy that we need to overcome, because that isn't the case now. This helps us get us to a different place.
I'll add on to that. I was thrilled to see some of the materials from the other Great Lakes Sanctuary, where young children in schools were doing a project with the sanctuary leaders, putting together sort of documentary videos and learning about the way in which you can be an archaeologist in a body of water. But I would also say the partnership with Noaa presents an opportunity to talk about what that organization does as well. Because, we call it Noaa, but it's the National Atmospheric, Oceanic, it's Noaa, right? And they do an incredible amount of work telling us about our climate, telling us about our atmosphere, telling us about our oceans and our freshwater coasts, the Great Lakes. And that exposure, that partnership is going to be key to interesting people in
important was what?
How important was it to give students another resource to learn?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a huge body of water out there, and especially for the youngsters that live across our eastern border with Michigan. Absolutely, it's going to, I think it's going to be there, but as it's known that this resource exists, it will be impacted, not just for creators of Wisconsin, but all of you in Wisconsin, and also you think about our higher education that work deliberately and importantly around water. Our industries in the water area are based on water technology. All those things play a role in this. So I just think it's an easy fit, and it's a fit that's going to move the schools.
I'd be happy to add. So I think about growing up in Wisconsin. I used to joke when I was in the House of Representatives that a landlocked part of the state, because I didn't touch any of the Great Lakes, but indeed Wisconsin is filled with incredible bodies of water. In Madison's on an isthmus between two big lakes, and we have the mighty Mississippi dividing our western coast. When I was a kid, I remember our teachers trying to make water a part of our educational journey. Close to probably the most important limnology department in the country. That studied one body of water longer than any particular body of water has ever been studied. It's your lake, Noaa, right? And I think this is an incredible opportunity to spark